I didn't invent any of the shit that stuff that I'm about to, show you. It's all stuff that's been taught to me through, older guys that I know, classes that I've taken. But the main point is I was taught, a main way to do things with some variations in between, and practicing that over and over and over again has what's made me pretty all right with it. I'm pretty automatic when it comes to that, and that's how we all should be. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, when it's out a couple windows, shouldn't have to really think about what you're doing. You should just kind of have the muscle memory. So with that being said, we'll just start with outward. So outward doors, you're going to encounter them in commercial buildings most of the time. In residentials, like in an MOD, anything outward in the hallway is more than likely going to be a closet, a shaftway, something that somebody doesn't live in, right? So every time we're going to force a door, we're going to try it. So always, when you're training, always go through that motion. You see a lot of guys that don't do that when they're training, and then they force unlock doors. So when we're going for an outward door, this one already has a pretty good gap in it, but if you don't have a good gap, the axe is beveled at the bottom, so you can kind of just lean it right up against the door, kind of give it a couple shots with the Halligan. Now you have your gap. So if someone want to hit real quick. So you get your adze end. Whenever we're going outward, we want to start adze end. And the whole idea is to get the adze in, right? And we want to take this adze and we want to miss the jam, but get around the door without skinning the door. So hit. So as he hits, I'm putting outward pressure on this Halligan bar. Hit, 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 hit. And you want to drive it. You want to drive it into the shoulder. So hit, drive, stop. So once that Halligan's driven into the shoulder, it's a pretty quick motion, straight out. And the door's going to come. Right? So talking about door control real quick. Everyone wants to get the door open and then quickly closed. However, we don't just want to get it open and then quickly shut it. We want to kind of get the door open and sweep that 6 feet in front of the door. There might be somebody laying right behind it. So if you just get the door shut real quick, now you're waiting for the line to get charged. That's a minute and a half that you could have pulled somebody out of that dwelling and dragged them out onto the front porch, right? So that's outward swing. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you want to look, now that it's open, the idea, see where the jam is? If you don't pull this Halligan out, you're just going to keep digging into that jam, right? So you have to come out with it to peel it around the jam and around the door, and then eventually force the door. I'm a single firefighter. The way this door is oriented, I'm swinging offhand, right? Now I gotta lean into the door and get this in here. Now I gotta swing offhand and try to, at the same time, pull this out. So, again, wide stance into the door and kind of just drive it back this way. All right, that's for if you're by yourself. But hopefully, a lot of people at the front door. You can, no one's getting inside to put the fire out until the door comes open. So if you can, grab somebody. Like, yo, can you just hit for me real quick? Thanks, appreciate it. Now, that's it. Yeah, me next. So inward doors, right? When I come up to an inward door, obviously we're trying it again, right? So to start, I use the gap set force method, right? So gap the door, right? I gap bottom, middle, and top. That's to tell me, I obviously know there's a lock here, probably with a key and knob and a deadbolt or a mortise lock, whatever it's gonna be. But I don't know what's high and I don't know what's low. So even without seeing lock cylinders on the outside, you could have like 3 slide bolts up top, 3 slide bolts on the bottom, and you'll never know unless you come here, gap, come here, gap, and come here and gap. So the top gap, not only does it tell you lock position, if they're locked and if there's any up there, but if you gap the top of the door, you'll get an idea of conditions behind the door. So you're in a public hallway of an MOD, you gap the top of the door, and it jet black smokes out at you. You can kind of turn around and tell everyone, yo, it's pretty shitty behind this door. You should probably get masked up before I pop this door open. Whereas if you just force the door, blow it open, nobody has their masks on, and it comes out into the public hallway, it's forcing everyone back to the stairs. So kind of be prepared. The other good thing is like pot of meats. You're in an MOD looking for a pot of meat, can't really figure it out. Every door's locked, no one's answering. Without breaking the door, just gap the top, then stick your nose up there. You'll probably get an idea of which apartment it's in. That way you can force the right door instead of having to force every door on the floor or get a key or whatever. Or you can isolate it, get a key, and figure it out, right? So when we're coming in, I like to, after I check if it's locked or not, I like to lean into the door to kind of see what the door is going to give me. So if it's a tight jam on the door, just leaning into it, I could be able to slide the Halligan in there. Whereas if I just tried to do this, it might not go. But putting that lean in, it's going to tell me how much this door is going to give, right? So pike end is facing down. So when we come in, we're gapping up. So get enough in there. And then I like using the axe to force. I know a lot of people like a lot of different methods, a lot of different tools. I like the axe just because of the blade. I can let go, and now I've captured my progress. That's why I like using a flathead axe, because I had a strike side and I have a blade to capture my progress, okay? So when we're going to force, we're gonna get the forks bevel to the door, and we're gonna kind of come in on a straight angle, and as he hits, I'm coming around this way so I can get these forks to come around the jam, but not into the door, right? So, all right, I'm in, Tom. So hit, 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 stop. So I'm not, if you guys want to come take a peek at this, I'm not deep enough, right? So just to get an idea, that's not deep enough behind the door to get proper leverage. A lot of people like to mark their Halligans up. I don't, because you don't know how thick that jam, it could be a wide jam, it could be a short jam. A lot of people like to mark their Halligans to say, oh, you're far enough. You don't know unless you look, right? So go ahead and drive. Stop. So when I say stop, what am I waiting for? The last hit. Because it takes time, especially if it's out some windows, a lot of people yelling, trying to stretch line. I wait for that last hit before I take and put my hand here, right? I can let go of this. This is a tight door. You can let go of that. That's kind of what you want. You want the door to resist you, because when you push against it, it's going to fail catastrophically and that door is going to come open, right? So when I'm in this position, I like to grab the pike end, turn around, and now I'm coming straight to the door. Hands open, so when you come like this, you don't smash your knuckles against the door. So hands open and straight through, right? We're sweeping, and then we're going to hook the door. I like to leave the Halligan in the door so it doesn't come locked again. You put the Halligan down. Now either you mask up or you kind of tell the engine, hey, we're ready to go, and you can head in. Just a couple things for low visibility, right? For low visibility, you kind of need to use your hands and your ears, right? So, Tom, hit this. Everyone hear that sound? Hit it again. Right, now hit it again. Everyone hear the difference? So when you can't see, to know that you're not in the jam, you got to listen for that hollow sound. If you're hearing that dull thud, you're in the jam or you're in the door and it's not working. So now let's solve the vision problem with striking. So Tom, hold the Halligan. So the likelihood of me hitting that Halligan with my eyes closed, probably not that great. Probably going to take his forearm off. But all day, I can close my eyes and bring my hands together. I'm not going to miss. I know where both of my hands are with my eyes closed. I can bring them together all day, grab the Halligan, and I can just hit, right? So like I said, we're going to come up, we're going to gap bottom, middle, and top. When we gap top, checking for conditions. That helps, obviously. When we're in a two-story single family, obviously, like, we're all outside, it's not going to matter, but MODs in public hallways, when we're forcing doors, you have the rest of the truck and the engine behind you. Like, you're in charge of that door and you're in charge of forcing it. You force it too early, you're forcing everybody back. So really, that top gap, checking for conditions is important. when we're in public hallways and MODs. Bam, bam. So I'm gonna lean in, gap. Tom's gonna capture progress. Come out, fork. Hit, 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 drop. Stop. So right there, that's far enough. You kind of want to get like halfway down the forks so you can get that leverage. Without, like, so if I was to go without it, I could slip out, like this Halligan could slip out. That's what you want to avoid. You want to be able to take this fork end and leverage the door against the jam, right? So you can watch what happens. Ready? Coming. All right, good. So it didn't work, right? So Tom's going to throw the axe in there again if it's wide enough, right? So then, when you get stuck after that, you can take the adze end against the jam and come straight back. Stop, sweep. So see that little the adze end, and then kind of come out with it. So that was good. I'm glad it stopped me before I forced the door, because that's where you start going down your list of other things I can do to get this door forced. All right, I did my gap set force, right? It didn't get the door all the way. Now what? Now I'm moving towards this move, where I come straight out against it, or I can do this, and I can roll the Halligan up against it just to create that gap, to create that space. What you're trying to do, you're not trying to defeat the door, you're defeating the locking mechanism that it's locked into. So when we're like kind of beating holes through doors and stuff like that, that's when we kind of know we're losing a little, because this thing is still locked. If we're not making progress on this lock, we're not getting in, right? So like I said, after that, just out with it. You got it. So real quick, just a note on hitting. What's easier, me to make contact this way, or this way? Where do I have more surface area? I have more surface area to strike when I'm straight up and down, right? I can hit here, 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 here. If I'm this way or this way, I kind of got to be a little bit more on the money, right? So I'm going to try to hit, when I'm hitting, lower my hand so I don't crush my fingers, and I'm kind of driving from the shoulder, right? So then, hit, 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 stop. It's in there, good. Hit that. Yeah, that way. Got it, sweet. So that driving from the shoulders thing, so like I said, I relate everything back to time, the distance of people behind you. You might have an engine officer up your butt, you might have the rest of the engine crew coming up. So if I really reel back and go to whack, I can take someone's teeth out, whatever, right? So I kind of want to be in tight to the shoulder like this. The other reason is, like I said, I know I keep going back to public hallways and MODs, but it's a lot of problems the Forcible entry we run into there. It could be tight. You could be up against two walls. You could be up in a corner. And getting as small as possible with as much force as possible is actually really important, because you're not going to have all this to come back to you. You might be hitting a wall. So if you're down here, just straight in with your shoulder. Single firefighter with an axe, you're kind of doing everything. You're doing everything, but now on your own. So you're hitting like this. So try to, like, if I was to do this single, right, I would kind of widen my stance, because here I'm not getting a lot back here. But if I widen my stance, I can get back with my shoulder, and I can really give this some shots, right, if I'm back here. But if I'm in here, I'm kind of leaning, right? The gapping portion, when you gap your single firefighter, I would just leave this like resting up against the door, like that. I'd throw my gap in, right? Throw my gap in, and then I would hold it with one hand and go in with the other. that's terrible. That's horrible. Yeah. It's like that's not how it's going to be out. If there's too much distance between the door and the jambs, you can take the axe and they take up space. So now he's forcing you against the axe and the jam instead of just the jam. So if we have a rough time gap, and hold on. So step to the other side of the tool. Put your adze in there. All right. Yeah. Drive. Stop.
Big shout out to Firefighter Anthony Dell'aquilla for sharing his knowledge. And on behalf of the men and women of Engine 68, Ladder 13, Battalion 7, and Medic 3 of the Cuckoo's Nest here at the Philadelphia Fire Department, hope you learned something, and thanks for watching.